Truth.
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 Welcome to Trusting the Truth with Samuel Tolley, where we view the world through the lens of Jesus Christ. We do not view Jesus Christ through the lens of the world. How you doing? This is Sam Tolley with Trusting the Truth. And today, I want to talk about the fact that we need more thinking black men. Since 2011, I have been online talking about two primary things: Jesus Christ and Black America. The need for everyone to serve the Lord Jesus Christ, whether you're black, white, or polka dot, and the need for Black Americans to get out of the Democrat Party. People say that you shouldn't talk about religion and politics if you want to get along with people. And in many cases, many folks, unfortunately, I don't get along with because I talk about religion and politics. I talk about them because those two things will govern every aspect of our life, whether we want them to or not, whether we pay attention to either of them or not. Both of them are ingrained in every aspect of our life, and we need to pay attention to it if we want our lives to be fruitful, if we want our lives to prosper, if we want our children to grow. And I think most people want all those things. Growing up as a black man in the United States, I had this thing, which most black folks in the United States had, is that you're supposed to be a Democrat. And I knew I was a Democrat before I knew anything else. I didn't know why I was a Democrat, but I was a Democrat. And when I came to the, the realization that there's massive problems with the Democrat Party, and I should stay away from it, and I've made plenty of videos talking about that. Sorry about that. Tickle in my throat. Plenty of videos. You can look them up. They're on YouTube. Many are on Rumbles. Facebook is taking down a lot of videos for whatever reason. I think they want storage or whatever. But my Facebook channel has listed all of my videos. And so you can go to YouTube and see which ones that you think are relevant. But nevertheless, as a black man in the United States trying to reach other black people who I think have been brainwashed, bamboozled, and deceived by the Democrat Party, I catch hell like many others do. And many people have got to the point where they won't talk about it anymore. Well, I talk about it because I love black people. You know, I love the black people that think that I'm a sellout, that think that I'm an Uncle Tom, that think that I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. But none of them seem to want to come on and defend their position. I invited them on. If you're one of them right now, let me know. Let's make an arrangement to sit down and discuss these issues. I think it's important for us to discuss these issues. That's the only way people are going to have a counter view of what's going on. But every now and then, I'll get a post or I'll see something that makes me want to speak up. And I want to show you a picture that I saw recently. Let's get this image up. Take a look at this. Here's a picture of President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and their wives. Now, this picture was posted by a black man that I know most of my life, grew up with. I've tried to talk to him on several occasions. He never wanted to have a discussion other than to post a few things, just like Seem like all the rest of them. But let's look at the post. 2 immigrant women married to men who claim to hate immigrants. Is there any truth to that post? Yes, their wives were immigrants. But is there any truth to them hating immigrants? See, the Democrat Party always project the narrative that they want people to think instead of allowing people to think or people deciding to think for themselves. That's why I said we need more thinking black men. So I responded to this post, and I responded as follows. I said, these 2 men are not against immigrants. They are against illegal immigrants. Over 10 million, and some people say 20, and we're just talking about the last 4 years under Biden, not prior times. Over 10 million illegal immigrants entered this country during Biden's 4 years, taking away jobs, driving down wages of Black Americans. Black Americans have been at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder since before the Great Society of LBJ and are still at the bottom following the Democrats. All of the illegal immigrants were placed in Black communities, sucking up minority resources. And Democrats got Blacks defending their own economic destruction. Now let's break down what I just wrote back, because I got a response thus far, not from the writer, but I got a response from his son, whom I've never met. But I would dare anyone to show me where President Trump or Vice President J.D. Vance said they hate immigrants. Now you're going to get stuff that people are going to twist things where he'll say that blah, blah country was an S-hole country or this, that, and the other. Show me where they hate immigrants. That's number one. Number two, either we are a nation of laws or we are not a nation of laws. I'm required to have a driver's license to drive up and down the street. If I don't have my driver's license, I can get pulled over and get cited or even get arrested. I'm required to follow certain rules and regulations here in the United States as a citizen of this country. You know, every citizen of every country is required to follow laws. We have laws for the border of this country. If we don't have a border, we don't have a country. There are people that do not want us to have a border. We're going to get into that more. Let's see. I said the over 10 million illegal immigrants entering this country during Biden's 4 years, taking away jobs and driving down wages. Look, even before they had this surge of illegal aliens, I used to have friends in the construction industry. They would talk about how illegals would come in. They would hire them on the construction jobs at a lower wage scale, you know. And so that drives down wages. And in many cases, we have jobs now or that were prioritizing migrants, illegal migrants. If you have X amount of jobs and you have X amount of people in this community and you put more people in the community competing for those jobs, it's not like you got more jobs for all the people. That means the new people are going to compete with the old people for the existing jobs. It's simple math, really. If you got a classroom that holds 30 kids and you got 30 kids in that classroom and a bunch of illegals come in and they bring their kids and they have to bring in 10 more kids in a classroom built for 30 kids. Now you got 40 in there and 10 may not even speak the common language. That's going to take more resources from the teachers, more people paying attention, trying to educate those people who don't belong here. And another thing we need to consider, when these illegals came to the United States, they didn't move them to Beverly Hills. They didn't move them to Kennebunkport or Martha's Vineyard. They moved them to the south side of Chicago, to Watts, Harlem. They moved them to the ghetto. They moved them to the low income areas of minorities. They do it all the time. Chicago, people are angry because they have $1 billion deficit from money being spent on illegals. It's stated, I looked at one source, said that it was like $150 billion that's been spent by this nation on illegals. Now, I don't understand Black people that defend this policy. Black Americans, and this is one of the reasons why I've been against the Democrat Party, because when I was growing up as a young child in Pasadena, California, I always heard about the Democrats were for the minorities and the poor. They were always talking. I remember I had a neighborhood. I lived in this area, and anyone from Pasadena will know it, but I'm sure that just take it because you don't know it. There was about a 4 or 5 block area. There was Fair Oaks Avenue going north and south, and then we would have east and west. There would be Washington, Pepper, Claremont, Hammond, and a few other streets. Single family homes throughout this area. Well, like I said, I was a child, so I don't know all the dynamics, but what I do know is that whole neighborhood was ate up some kind of way. Some kind of way they convinced the homeowners, predominantly Black homeowners, to sell out, to sell their homes out, and they took that area and made it into what was known as King's Manor back in the day, named after MLK. I don't know what they call it now. But instead of having a bunch of single homes, it was like a mini project that they put in there. Now, this wasn't uplifting the Black community. This was basically destroying single family homes. But this was, many of the Black people in this area accepted what was going on in the city and the state and whatever. And this is what we have here. This albatross by Black folks that's been following the Democrat Party. But back in 1965, when MLK did his war on poverty, the 2-parent Black household was either between 80 and 75%, 2 parents. And Patrick Daniel Moynihan, a Democrat, was warning us that the Black family was on the verge of destruction because, according to his report, 25% of Black families had a single parent, and that they should be trying to work towards stabilizing the Black family, which would mean help the father stabilize him so he can take care of the family. Well, what they did back then, the Johnson administration and the so-called civil rights leaders, and I'm talking about MLK and all that bunch, they eviscerated the report from Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who happened to be a Democrat, and ignored that. And then they went on about setting up the Great Society welfare state that put a matriarchal society in place, meaning that if a family was in trouble, instead of stabilizing the family, they got the man out of the household and had the woman run the household. And so we had this Black family that went from 75% 2-parent house to today, where it's like 27% 2-parent house. And we got Democrats that are complaining about Trump while the black family is being destroyed by Democrats. Democrats are complaining about Trump, and they got black Democrats complaining about Trump, while the black family is almost non-existent. And then when you get a bunch of black folks that no longer support the Democrat Party because they have to have this 80% black vote in order to stay in power, they start bringing in all these illegals. And they're bringing in the illegals, and then they're going to convince black folks to support taking care of illegals. In other words, like I said in my statement, I said, all of the illegal immigrants were placed in black communities, sucking up minority resources, and Democrats got blacks defending their own economic destruction. And that's what that post was doing, inadvertently. Because you're focusing on the wrong problem. Just like they were talking about, I got a bunch of them talking about Epstein files. Oh, Trump and them is trying to stop from putting out the Epstein files. This is what it calls for rational, logical thinking. When I said we need more thinking black men. Joe Biden and the Democrats were in complete control for 4 years. Whatever the Epstein file has in it was in their control. Why didn't they release it? They did everything they could to get rid of Trump. They sued him in federal court. They sued him in state court. They tried to have him arrested. Some folks even tried to kill him. Don't you think that if they had anything in quote unquote Epstein files that would get Trump, they would have released it? But they don't want you thinking like that. They don't want you thinking at all. They want you to be emotional. They want you to be emotional and focus on what they want you to focus on. They don't want you to focus on the fact that, like I said, back in 1965 and before with Daniel Patrick Moynihan during the Great Society, blacks were at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder, and still today, we're at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder. They don't want you to acknowledge the fact that during Trump's first administration, the highest black employment rate in modern day history was during that time. Whereas Obama had the highest welfare rate, and Clinton had the highest black incarceration rate. But they don't talk about those things. They don't mention anything that's derogatory toward the Democrat Party because they worship and serve the Democrat Party, although they will not admit it. When Joe Biden said, if you don't know the difference between me and Trump, you ain't black, not one single person of any respectfulness in black society did anything. Oh, well, he was wrong. I apologize. He called 3 different black men boy. His advisor, the mayor of, the governor of Maryland at the time, and LL Cool J. Nobody said anything, but Trump's the racist. These illegals coming in here. And so I want to look at some of the points that my friend's son wrote. He wrote, one of the things he said was, immigrants don't take jobs. They create jobs due to higher demand because they need services too. Okay. Then they fill jobs. Then he makes what he yelled at me, all capitals, you won't dare do. I can't believe there are still people out there thinking immigrants steal jobs. Laugh my blank off. See, it's not funny to me, so I'm not going to laugh. It's sad to me this kind of thinking. Because number one, they do take jobs. You know, if there's a job out there and you can pay somebody $10 an hour to do it, and you can, or somebody else going to demand $15 an hour to do it, you're going to pay the $10 to cut your profit keep your profit margin up. And if these people are used to making $6 or $7 an hour back home, they would love to take the $10 an hour, and you'd love to get them. And then the other folks that's trying to survive here legally, is going to lose a job. It's not hard to figure out. And as far as telling me what I won't do, I'm not one of these lazy folks. I will do whatever is necessary to take care of my family. So that's just an ad hominem attack that he has no idea what he's talking about. Another point he made is also they create resources due to contributing taxes and receiving hardly any benefits. Really? I want you to look at some of the benefits that illegals were getting. I want you to look at, because he said next time decide to input information into your brain, make you read. Next time decide to input information into your brain, make you read. Don't listen to YouTube. Okay, I guess he could have said whatever he was trying to say better. But if he's going to try to clarify information, then he should substantiate what he's talking about. But nevertheless, he said they contribute hardly and receive hardly any benefits. Well, let's look at YouTube. Let's look at a few clips on some of the benefits that these people were getting that this gentleman doesn't think they were getting. I want to start off with Larry's story.
A migrant, okay, an immigrant, left a receipt in a store. And you know how I got the food stamp remaining balance at the bottom of the receipt, right? $13,500 with a $5,000 cash, Larry. Okay? Migrant, somebody that's not from this country. Now, you are a veteran, and you've also served this country, correct?
Correct.
Now tell these people, okay, after I just said they left the receipt with a $13,000 food stamp balance. Tell these people, as a veteran that served this country, right? Tell them how much food stamps you get in a month.
$23. $23.
23, not 2,300.
$23.
Not 230. How much you getting in food stamps a month?
$23 a month.
$23 versus a person that's not even from this country versus a person that did not serve this country. $13,000 they said it was on that receipt.
$23.
And you fighting to get your what?
100.
Your 100% from the VA.
From the VA.
He can't even get it.
Right.
America, you should be ashamed of your goddamn self.
100%.
You should be ashamed of yourself. See if Kamala gonna fix that. Here this man is a veteran, okay? Fighting for his 100%. He done fought for this country, and he get $23 worth of food stamps every month. And then they done found a receipt of an immigrant, a migrant, getting $13,000 a month, Larry. Not every 5 months, not every year, a month. Is it not a slap in the face?
Slap in the face. But that's sad. Fighting for this country ain't even worth it.
$23. This guy is named Larry. He said this migrant got $13,000 a month. I put this out and more, and I got about 3 more clips I want to show. And I shout out to Anton Daniels for doing the work back then. But I put out a video on August the 15th. 2024 called Black People Stop Getting Hosed by Democrats. Where I put this information out there. When people were telling me, oh, Sam, you need to vote for Kamala. You're going to stop the sister from getting a job, from being the first president. It was all focused on her pigmentation and sexual apparatus instead of exactly what is this person going to do economically for the citizens of this nation. I put this out there. This is not an anomaly, and this is not a lie. What this guy said, there's more. So I want you to pay attention to this stuff. This is ridiculous.
Wake up and start talking about how these Venezuelans are the only people that's getting jobs. How the Venezuelans in Chicago get an EBT card with $4,000 on there, and every time somebody posts it, y'all always removing it. I'm just waiting. Because it's crazy. Like, I went to go fill out a whole bunch of job applications, and y'all know them things is in Spanish. Like, not to say I don't know Spanish, but that is crazy. Like, how a city can adjust to the outside before they make accommodations for the inside. But ain't nobody talking about that. It's all right, though.
You hear this woman? I've been filling out all these applications, but nobody wants, I got to speak Spanish. She said this lady had an EB card with $4,000 on it. $4,000. Hell, if I was an illegal alien during the Biden years, I'd rush across the border too. She's trying to get a job. People taking down this information when she said people were posting it, and you all just ignore it. But you all is mad at Trump because he's trying to get these folks out. There's more. I want to make sure you understand what was happening here. You need to understand what was going on.
$100, man, trying to make groceries just to make it till we get paid for something for the kids to eat after school. Immigrant in front of me, and she got $10,000 on her food stamp card with $3,000 cash. Come on, man, but I work every day to pay my taxes for here, man. For them to get all that there, man, I'm not knocking nobody in their hustle, man. But man, stop taking my money again. People, I understand if you gave it to some people in our community that really man. But instead, y'all sending money to Ukraine, you know what I'm saying, billions of dollars. But you got people over here that need that same thing. Man, well, I'm trying to figure out how can I get $10,000 worth of food stamp. What?
You hear this? Do you see what's going on? This guy, you see this woman with a $10,000 on her EBT card with $3,000 cash. And he said, I ain't trying to stop nobody from their hustle, but I work every day. And if you guys think, I mean, even if you agreed with this is okay, which would be insane. Do you know anybody who's getting this kind of benefits from the government? That is United States citizens? Do any of y'all know anybody that's getting this kind of stuff? I try to talk to Black folks. I try to get them to think beyond the programming, think beyond the emotional stereotype that they stick us in. They get you so wound up, they get you so focused on hating what they want you to hate that you cannot see how they're screwing over you. I got one more I want you to see.
Ex-post made me so mad I almost threw the phone across the room. I need a goody powder because I have a headache. Why is it this illegal alien, this so-called migrant from Venezuela, left a receipt at the cash register in one of the New York City bodegas.
I got the receipt. I'm going to show you the receipt. Actually, you know what? Let me just show you the receipt right now. I didn't know what her reaction was going to be, but I definitely pulled up the receipt. So this was the receipt, and this is what's going viral on the internet right now. It said, my friend was behind a Venezuelan woman in line at a store, and the woman left the receipt, which is not abnormal. People don't want to take their receipts. I don't always take my receipt with me either. Even when I go to the bank, I just give it back to the teller and say, hey, can you get rid of this for me? Look at this S right here. I can't get EBT and look at the cash balance. We'll let them tell us it's no help though. The cash balance, if you look at that right now, the cash balance, the EBT cash balance is $4,400. The food stamp balance is $13,000. I've been covering the migrant crisis on the Millionaire Morning Show for over 2 years now. Well over 2 years. I've been watching them flood into the country. I've been aware of what's happening in New York. They've been giving them debit cards and credit cards. And they give them free housing. They give them school. They give them Medicare. They give them health care. They give them everything. And on top of that, they also stealing scooters and they door dashing. And so they compounding it. And so the American dream is very much alive for these migrants. And so I can understand why that woman was absolutely disgusted at what was going on. But I wasn't expecting her to hit me with the ooh-op shebang in the beginning, but let's dive into it.
Hold up. I'm going to tell you. Why is it that this heifer who has never put anything into this country, never worked in this country, never paid Social Security tax, never paid a property tax, never put into the IRS, never paid anything into anything, came here with her damn hand stuck out, came from country, wherever the hell you from?
Well, the question is why? Because you guys let it happen. You black Democrats, you black Democrat men are not controlling your women, not controlling your mind, not thinking right. Let it happen. And then pride stops you from saying, well, wait a minute, let me figure this out. Because at any rate, if the Democrats was all that in a can of tomato paste too, they should have been taking care of black Americans during the last 4 years. They didn't take care of you at all. They didn't take care of you just like they didn't take care of you during Obama's time. Tavis Smiley, a black economist, said that black folks were on a worse economic state at the end of the Obama era than they were at the beginning. You know, you got to get away from this worship of color and this worship of label and start looking at reality and looking at the facts. You know, so as long as they can keep black folks hating the wrong stuff, they can keep you in bondage. I got out of bondage back in 1989. I think that was the last time I voted Democrat. Matter of fact, I'm sorry, I didn't vote Democrat in 89. The last time I voted Democrat was when Jimmy Carter was running for re-election. And that's crazy when I think about it, because during the Carter administration, that was 1980, I guess. During the Carter administration, I was in gas lines at 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to get gas on odd, even days. You know, the economy was in bad shape, but I didn't understand the economy. I didn't understand any of these things. I didn't even pay attention to this stuff. I just thought everything was the way it was, and that's the way it was supposed to be. And I'm a Democrat, and I'm supposed to be a Democrat, and I'm not supposed to think about nothing. You didn't talk about politics or religion, so I didn't talk about it. I just lived like anybody else. And then when I said I was going to be a Christian, I tried to be a Christian like anybody else, except for when I got serious about my theology. When I really got serious about it is when I had to do a reconciliation about my personal life and my theological life. And they were supposed to be one. They're not separate. I couldn't be a Christian on Sunday and then live like the world 6 days a week. I had to be in a biblical worldview 7 days a week. But I got one more thing I want to show you before I let you go about how Democrats keep holes in folks. And since this friend of mine, hopefully he's still a friend of mine. I don't know his son, but I invited his son on. He can come on. We can talk. If is in the state of California, outgoing governor Gavin Newsom just signed a new bill in the state of California. I don't want to talk about Mr. Newsom. And let me share. Let me see here. I want to share the screen on this article Mr. Newsom made. Well, he didn't make the article. The article was written based on Mr. Newsom's signing this bill. But let's look at this bill. Newsom signs bill creating a reparation office in California, a free state since 1850. Now, number one, California has never been a slave state. Okay? Democrats have been holding reparations on black folks like a carrot in front of a donkey for years, and Newsom is the chief one. This guy has been in office for 8 years. He is terming out and wants to run for president. All he's doing right here is trying to secure black folks to keep voting for him, even though he done destroyed California. If the laws he put in place stay, come 2035, you can't even buy a gas-powered car in California anymore. You can't buy a gas-powered lawnmower or weed whacker right now in the state of California. In the state of California, Altadena burnt down because they didn't have water up there in the Pacific Palisades. You know, California got some of the highest taxes in the nation. You know, they want to have electric vehicles, and they can't even keep the power grid up during the summer. And he just signed a bill that's going to outlaw Glocks because they're going to make them qualify or not qualified as the kind of handgun you could have. Why black folks would vote for these Democrats, I don't know. They love to talk about the Ku Klux Klan and racist, this and the other, and they forget the fact that the Klan and the racists, the Klan, segregation, Jim Crow, all that crap came from Democrats. And here he is trying to get rid of black folks and white folks and any other kind of folks having handguns in the state. And they don't want you to have your own, you can carry. I live in Arizona. We can carry all the time. Ain't got to ask nobody nothing. But let's look at this article real quick. California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill Friday that creates an Office of Reparations for Slavery in California, despite the fact that the Golden State entered the Union as a free state in 1850. See, it's a joke. Number one, if there was reparations to be paid, I'd want to get mine. But I think the only people that should be paying is Democrats, because it was Democrats were the party of the Confederacy. It wasn't Republicans. So the only folks that should be peeling over money to pay folks, if you want to do reparations, you need to get it from the folks that were the descendants of the slave folks. And that was the Democrat Party. They ain't going to do that. And they ain't going to give nobody money anyway. This is the same nonsense he pulled a few years ago. Just sticking that carrot out there. Even if something was to happen, he ain't going to be there, but he could say, I laid the groundwork. Let's see here. Newsom signed a bill in 2020, just like I told you, during the height of the Black Lives Matter movement to create a committee to study reparations in California. He rejected his absurd demands for cash, but signed other related bills. Yeah, these people wanted, they said, yeah, we should get millions of dollars to everybody. You know what? If he really wanted to give them something, how come he just didn't give them a little something, something? He didn't give them a dime. He was never going to give them a dime. It was all smoke and mirrors. It was all a front. It's the same crap they always pull just to keep you in line. You black Democrats, keep you in line and get you ready for 2028 to vote for me because I'm for you. A year ago, Newsom signed an apology for slavery. For what? California wasn't a slave state. California in 1865, if anything, California was sending troops to the South to try to fight against slavery. Again, despite the fact that California rejected slavery during a time in which the addition of each new state was a major contest between free and slave states. Newsom followed up with an office under SB 518 to administer a reparations program, though the program does not exist. And the state has suffered major budget deficits for 2 years. California is broke. It's upside down. All this stuff is just to keep black folks sucking on that imaginary, you know what. Politico reported Newsom mentioned the bill during a conversation about racism on the podcast Higher Learning with Van Lathan and Rachel Lindsay. I signed a bill 2 days ago with the Black Caucus as it relates to creating a new office to address these systemic issues. The only thing that's systemic is that Democrats have been racist from day one, since they started slavery in the first place. And they still are. They just twisted, and they got so many of you all trusting in them. The same folks that kept you in bondage are still keeping many of you in bondage today. Instead of iron chains, they use invisible chains. And invisible mental chains are harder to break because you can't see them. And they've got so many of you so locked up mentally that you refuse to even discuss the possibility that you're getting hosed. Won't even discuss it. Let's see. I signed a bill 2 days ago with the Black Caucus as it relates to creating a new office to address these systemic issues, he said during a episode released Friday morning. The move appears to be an attempt to burnish his left-wing credentials and his appeal to black voters ahead of a presidential run in 2028. Newsom recently visited black communities in South Carolina, the Democrats' first primary state. Of course he did. Of course he is. That's what this is always been about. That's the only thing this is about. Look, these folks have been promising black folks stuff since I was a little boy. The national education is below 50%. In Baltimore, they got kids that can't even read or do math at grade level. And some of them, none of them. In certain grade levels, I think the fourth grade or the eighth grade, I'm not sure which, I haven't looked at it in a while. But Democrats are against vouchers. And I want to close out with this. Anybody that goes to the store to buy their family meat, they want to feed their family. They want to feed their family some good food. So if you go to the store and get some bad meat, more than likely, you're not going back to that store again. You're going to find you a store that's going to feed your family well. But in the Democrat Party, the school teachers union run the Democrat Party, or the Democrat Party runs the teachers union. Whichever is the case, They don't want vouchers. They don't want educational choice. All these politicians in Washington, D.C. put their children in private schools, making sure they get an education, but they fight against educational choice for the poor, for the minorities. Public schools are not free. We pay for that schools with our tax dollars. So why not allow our tax dollars to be divvied up and let the parents decide if they want to homeschool their child or put their child in a private school or a parochial school or some kind of theological school or some kind of entity other than a non-performing public school. But that's not what the Democrats want. They want to keep your kid in these non-performing public schools. Then they bring in these millions of illegal kids to add to your kids. So your kids are already struggling to learn. It's going to be that much harder while they put their kids in private schools off the tax money you pay the government, and then you pay their salary. So their kids grow up, get well educated, be way up here, and your kid is way down here, but they got your kid down here fighting to bring in more folks that don't belong here down here while they're up here and you're still struggling. Excuse me. Does that make any sense? This is why I fight against the Democrat Party. This is why I fight for Black folks to get free. I'm not telling you to become a Republican. I'm telling you to think logically, rationally. I'm telling you to get away from being a puppet and being used by these people. You know, if you start thinking rationally, then you can do what's best for you and your family. If you refuse to think rationally and you decide you're going to continue to vote that straight Democrat line no matter what, then you just going to have your kids end up the same way you are, if not worse. And these days are a lot worse than it was when I was growing up. At least when I was growing up, the Democrats wasn't trying to tell me that boys can be girls and girls can be boys, and cutting off little girls' breasts and boys' penises, or having my daughters have to play and dress with boys in the locker room that say they're girls and tell me to accept it because that's normal, when I know full well it's not normal, and every Democrat listening to me know it's not normal. So if this stuff is normal to them now, what is it going to be like in 10, 20 years? It's time for you guys to wake up. The only thing that's going to change this situation is you, to change you. And if you change you, we can change the whole thing. If you call yourself a Christian, then make sure you are a disciple. Because if you're not a disciple, you're just somebody with a tag, with a cross or a sticker on their back, an identification certificate. That's all. It means nothing. And if you don't understand what a disciple is, you need to look it up. And if it ain't worth looking up, I'm not going to tell you. And if you call yourself a citizen of the United States, then you need to protect your country. Did you know that if you decide to I'm just going to move to Mexico, not that Mexicans are the only ones across the border, because you have people from China and Venezuela and Africa and all kinds of places. But I'm going to use Mexico as an example. Did you know if you just decide, I'm going to just move to Mexico, and you just pack up and move to Mexico and get a job and don't ask the Mexican government for permission, you know they will lock you up in jail? That's right. Why? Because they want to protect their borders. They want to protect their country. Everybody should want to protect their country, just like you should want to protect your family. It's stupid for a man to say, well, darling, I got to go get food for the family down the street and feed them. And then whatever I got left over, I'm going to bring it home to you. That's the same thing about letting a bunch of illegals come here. And just like my friend's son was talking about, they don't break laws and stuff. You broke the law by coming here uninvited. Every dime that it costs to take care of you is another dime taken away from taking care of me and mine. Why should I spend a dime on anybody that don't belong here? I don't know a soul that will allow a family to just walk in their house, take a bedroom, and stay there. Start cooking, laying on the couch, like they paid for it. Have their family just take up root. I don't know anybody. I don't know one Democrat that would do that. But yet the same thing is what they expect us to accept by people coming into your country. The only difference is size. We're talking about from the macro to the micro. They got you not even caring about the macro. But boy, if they was to say somebody got to come into your micro in your house, all hell would break loose. Well, you need to think about the macro before you get to the micro. You need to think about the big before it becomes little. If we'd have been thinking about the big before it becomes little, we wouldn't be talking about drag queen story hour for kindergartners. But we missed that. Or grown men going into women's bathrooms saying that they're women. We missed that because we didn't focus on the macro. So I invite my friend, his son, any other Democrat. We can have a discussion. I'm all for black people, but I'm all for America. Because I'm an American. And I'm not going to be sitting around there talking about I'm for Black America first. And if I was for Black America first, it definitely wouldn't, that would definitely rule out illegal, just like I'm just for America first. I don't even understand that concept. These people, they get mad at Trump. They want to get, well, I understand why they get mad at Trump, because they're programmed to get mad at Trump. These same people probably watched The Apprentice for years and never got mad at Trump. Or if they didn't watch The Apprentice, they seen these videos with rappers and Trump hanging out with all kind of black folks. They know this stuff. But their minds have been changed to say he's the enemy now. What they don't understand is, why did he become the enemy? Why did I accept him becoming the enemy? And what does that mean in my world? Because they've allowed these outside forces to dictate their world. Instead of them thinking logically and rationally, they allow people to manipulate their thinking and have their thinking emotional. And if you're thinking emotionally, you can be moved where they want you to move. Think logically. Think rationally. Think godly. We need thinking black men. We need thinking white men too, but we really need thinking black men. This is Sam Tolley, and I'm out.